And we are live. Welcome everybody to another episode of You Know What? Let me just say podcast. I'm your host Ray. With me as always, we have Father
Happy birthday, Biggie.
and anybody else joins the podcast. We might see him. First things first. Before we start, I want to give a rest in peace to Shad from Crime Time. He's done saved his son. They was out on the beach, and I guess the lifeguard was trying to save him. He said, "Save my son first," and then he got submerged in a wave, and they couldn't find him until later. So I give big props to that man putting his son's life before his. I wish he'd got saved too, but that was one honorable thing I would say that man did, and big ups to that. That's really like something that I feel like a lot of people should talk about.
I agree. R.I.P. to Shad Gaspar, one half of Crime Time. Very memorable tag team. I feel like everybody can point out at least two moments with them. And one thing I just want to say is that what he did is like actual masculinity. That's what a man should be. You know what I'm saying? You have your kids, and you know nothing's gonna touch you until death. So the fact that it took death for him to like really like he died for his son is basically what I'm trying to say. And that there's no greater form of love than that. So while it does hurt, he's not gone. He's only gone in the physical sense, but he's gonna live on with his son, and the wrestling world is gonna remember him tremendously. So you know, rest in peace to Shad Gaspar.
Wise words has never been said. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with is the versus battle between Nelly and Ludacris. Now, I'm personally I'm a fan of both of them, but I'm a big Ludacris fan. I feel like sometimes Ludacris was very underrated. I know a lot of people when they think of the South, it's like they think of Ti, Jeezy, Gucci, and all that other stuff. But I swear to God, like not a lot of people mention Ludacris, and Ludacris had fucking hits and class. To me, has never had a bad album in in his career. To me, um, what you thought about what you thought about the Versus series?
That one in particular, or in
Yeah,
general?
that one in particular, Nelly versus
Um,
Ludacris.
so like I caught a good amount of it. Then I left after like you know, I don't know. I left, but from what I did see, it was. I mean, I enjoyed myself. Obviously, both of them had bops, but I don't know. You can't after watching Badu and Joe Scott. You know what I'm saying? Going after that, I kind of felt bad for him because it's like those two literally created magic in IG form. And so the fact that they had to, kind of follow that with their battle, it wasn't that I wasn't feeling it. It's just that Badu and Joe Scott was that good. You feel me? And also, like, it was good to revisit like a lot of the songs that they played and shit. But after a while, I was kind of like, what's it called? I was kind of like burned out, so I just left.
I was the same way. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was the same way, and I fucking love Ludacris. Don't you don't understand? Because I think like as top five Atlanta artists, Ludacris is definitely in that top five. And I
Definitely.
don't think people give him the recognition that people deserve because like that nigga had bops. Because you know how everybody was talking about, yo, Ti was running the South. It was like, nah, Ludacris was there. Ludacris had like classic albums. He had albums you didn't skip. Word of Mouth is still probably in my top 10 albums of all time. Chicken and Beer is definitely might be in my top. I think I might have one or two. If I really think about it, I might have one or two Ludacris albums in there, and that's Word of Mouth and Chicken and Beer. Those are real classic albums. And like I said, he's literally never had a bad album. Nelly, he is a hit maker.
Yeah.
Like he had hits, and he was also like running. Like I said, he's one of the reasons why Air Force Ones went from like $50 sneakers to like 100, and it was like right now, like Air Force Ones are like 120. You could put that on Nelly, and Nelly was like had a lot of crossover success too. So yeah, I thought this was going to be a good battle, but like you said, I don't think nothing, and this is probably just us. I don't think nothing is going to match that magical as magical as cocoa butter as Jill Scott and Erica Badu. I don't think nothing is going to top that. And RZA and Premier was really really good too, and I think that was good for hip hop. And tell you the truth, Beanie Man and Bounty Killer, that's gonna be another one. But I think anybody that's I don't know if you was like really in the dance hall scene, I think you're gonna enjoy that. But I wonder how many people is gonna fake like they Jamaican for that day.
Yeah.
So you got any last words on this before we move on to our next topic?
So it's funny that you mentioned the versus battle because someone just made like one of their own on Twitter, and this one is straight up unfair. So imagine this: Sade versus Angela Winbury, not Anita Baker.
Mm.
That's unfair.
Mm.
That's an unfair one.
I'm Sade biased. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not. I'm gonna pick Sade simply because she's Nigerian.
I'm gonna pick Sade because I'm Sade biased.
But I love Anita Baker though.
I
This
love
one's
her
hard.
too. Like
This one's
you're
hard.
not wrong. I love her too, but I'm so Sade biased. Like I think that was one of the first women I fell in love with, other than fucking Aisha from Power Rangers. But other than Sade, man, you couldn't tell me there was not a perfect woman in the world other than Sade to me.
You really? Because before I discovered Sade, the woman that I was in love with when I was like super young was Shantae Moore. That was a beautiful ass woman. Holy shit.
He is beautiful. Shantae Moore is very beautiful. I don't know. It was something about Sade that just grasped me. It was just maybe this is why I like older women. I
Nah,
think
Sade definitely had that grown ass woman vibe.
yes. I'm and for those who care, I have a thing for older women. I really do, and it's just it's just like anytime like a Claire Huxtable, like I love a Claire Huxtable looking girl. I love a hell Michelle Obama. To me, I was always thought she could get it, but a Sade, she had that grown woman vibe. I love that grown woman look. I think I've always been attracted to that. So you seeing Sade with that, even though she was like what in her mid 20s, early 30s, around the 90s, I'm not sure. Like she had a beautiful voice. She had a beautiful look to me. It was just yo, you just couldn't help but to fall in love with Sade. So yeah,
And plus, she's queen of the big forehead crew.
yeah, she is Queen of the Big Four.
Shout out to the big. Shout out to the woman with the big forehead. I keep telling you, black women with big foreheads, bruh. That's a Lord's blessing. That means she was touched by God.
I want to
That's a
kiss
good
all.
luck charm,
I want to kiss all the women named foreheads, especially the big ones. You know,
bruh. I'm telling you. I think that's my other fetish, the big foreheads.
brown sugar style, just like how you did in brown sugar. I be wanting to do that. Shout out to Tay Days with brown sugar. All
Oh
right,
my god.
let's move on to the next one. I don't have you seen this a whole thing with black men kind of being mad at Russell Wilson for the post he put out for a stepson.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. Apparently, he posted about baby future, and a whole bunch of dudes was mad at him because it's like I guess he was overstepping his lane as a stepdad. It was some shit.
Yeah. Okay. While I find, because I know someone that I'm looking for the post right now, but tell me what you thought about. How do you feel about that whole thing? Do you think he was overstep? Russell Wilson is overstepping his lanes. I guess that's the question I should ask.
No, because Russell Wilson is married to Sierra, and Sierra's baby future's mother. So of course he's not overstepping. Like what people need to understand with stepdads is that there's no real such thing as overstepping unless like the mother or someone or like if harm is being brought to the child in any way, there's no real such thing as overstepping when it comes to a stepdad. Like I can understand if the stepdad is new and brand new and the real father don't know much about him, but this is Future and Russell Wilson we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? They're both famous. You know what I'm saying? They're both exceptional at what they do. Like at this point. And Russell Wilson's been there for years at this point. So there's nothing overstepping about it. I'm pretty sure Russell Wilson and Baby Future are in the same house and see each other like almost every day, especially now that it's quarantine. So, that's not saying that Future still doesn't have a presence with his son, but that nigga got 8 baby mamas. That nigga got 8 baby mamas. So I mean, yeah, he is the messiah of misogyny, but for this one, yeah, y'all gotta give Russell Wilson his flowers for that, because it's not an easy job to just come in and take over as stepdaddy, especially if the actual dad got beef with his baby mama or whatever. I'm assuming that for the sake of the baby Future and Sierra, kind of like really don't speak to each other like that, but at the same time, you could tell it's definitely awkward between the two. Cause Sierra done made that song about him and everything once he found out Future, done cheated on her and shit. So I'm pretty sure there's always gonna be like hostility there, even if they are cordial with each other. But for this case, come on, bruh. Russell Wilson just being a dad. And it's his son's birthday, his stepson's birthday. Of course he gonna show the little nigga love. What, would you want him to abuse him instead? Cause y'all slander him even more.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think the way I looked at it is that there's a lot of single parent households, and usually when you bring a man in, the man don't really care about the kid. Um, I remember there was a post a long time ago. It was on World Star saying it, like the man was basically talking about, man, I don't give a fuck about that kid. That ain't my son. He do shit. Is like, I think that's what a lot of people are just used to when, and a lot of like dudes that they are stepdaddies that a lot of them don't really care about their son. Now, I think that's really, I don't want to say it's false because obviously I grew up with my biological father, so I don't have a view, I don't really have a real view on it. And this is me saying this, but from like you don't really get to, but to me, you don't really get to see a lot of stepdads stepping up. But shout out to my man Tony, um, who usually be on the show. He's a stepfather. He done stepped up for for his stepkids, and he's a great father to them. He's like, so I've seen from the moment I've seen a lot of people step up. And I found the I guess this is to your Instagrams, right? Um, You are my daily inspiration, my best friend, full of love, joy, and grace. I thank Jesus every day for who you are, being able to lead and guide you. Your future is forever endless, and I pray you swim into every opportunity and obstacle in life with this much love and enthusiasm. Happy sixth birthday, future. Daddy loves you. That's sweet.
Yeah, that's sweet. What the fuck is wrong with that? Would you prefer if he said, "Hey, yo, it's baby Future birthday. I'm not his real father, so I can't really say much. But happy birthday, King. You deserve it." Like, no, he's gonna show the little nigga some love. What's wrong with that?
And I know, like, this is probably me. I'm pretty sure a lot of stepsons, when like they remarry, a lot of people don't. A lot of stepkids don't feel like they're part of the family. This man Russell is making sure that he is part of the family, his family, because like Russell has his own kid and all that other stuff. But you do see him with Future's kid. And tell you the truth, it's when you think of Future, like to me, he's Lord Misogyny. I think that's what we call it, the Lord of Misogyny. Does she belong to the streets? We know that that man has a history, or the word on the street is he don't really take care of his kids like that. Anytime I see Russell, and then there was a point where Russell Wilson was like, he was telling Sierra, take him off child support. Obviously you don't need his money. I'm good. To me, that's a boss ass move. He was like, I don't need his money that he's arguing about. I can take care of him myself. To me, Russell Wilson is exactly what you want in a man if you're looking for a stepdad. Someone that would treat their kid like their own, that would step up and don't even want nothing from the baby father, except even, but if the baby father wants to be in his life, he can be in his life. But other than that, he don't really need nothing from him. He can take care of him on his own. So I feel like everything Russell do, and I feel like everything Russell Wilson has done for him and his son and Sierra is real good because he done that man done like upgrade them both. Like they're owners of a fucking baseball team. And she has her own masters. He bought her own. What nigga is doing that?
bro. Not only that, but you can literally see in Sierra face that she happy. You know, like every time you see Sierra, she glowing. She always happy. Like to see a black woman that genuinely that happy is rare. Like you don't really get to see that because all the slander that we done face. You like every time celebrities get together, someone always cheating on one another, and you know, nudes getting leaked. Shout out to Kevin Gates and shit, nigga,
Ah,
bruh, bruh. Like I'm glad to see someone like Sierra, who is a very accomplished artist in her own right, is glowing with a man that she loves and obviously loves her. You feel me?
and let's not forget, he left a white woman for a black queen.
Thank the Lord.
Like usually it's the other way around. This nigga did the reverse. All right. So
She fixed you.
like, don't get me wrong. I think if there's one black man that black women will not even think about defending is Russell Wilson. He's one of those black men that they're not even Obama and Russell Wilson. They're not even thinking about because he's done shit for black women and his black family and all that other stuff. So shout outs to Russell Wilson. Any other words? Any last words before we move on to our next topic?
Um, yo, don't be mad if you a stepdad. Step up. You know, stepdad, step up. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. And okay, let's talk about this Lana Del Rey situation. I had basically saved the tweet. But basically, Father, you sent it. Can you explain it better? You probably explained it better than me.
All right. So Lana Del Rey posted a rant on IG, and she was basically talking about the double standard of how when she talks about her subject matter in her music, people call it glorifying abuse. Yet when Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, Kaylani, Camila Cabello, um, who else? Beyonce, when they make music promoting their sexual, you know, tendencies or like their sex appeal, fucking and shit like that, they get praised and shit like that. And a lot of people took offense because of two things. Number one, they was talking about how she was singling out black women. And number two, there was also bringing up the fact that all of those people that she named was slandered in one way or another. Now, this is what's very interesting to me about this whole thing. They said that she's throwing black women under the bus when there were seven women she named and three of the seven were black women. The rest were women of color. It was Ariana, Kaylani, Camila Cabello, and Cardi B. And the only reason I'm putting Cardi B in the people of color section is because niggas still always on that debate whether Cardi B is a black woman or not. But anyway, so she said that, and while I understood where she came from, I understood her point, and I actually commend her for being specific about the point because I'm pretty sure if she generalized, they would have dragged her anyway. So I think that she got her point across, me personally. And a lot of people was like, nah, man, she really needs to chill out with that. Oh, she's fucking what's it called? Like she's fucking proving that the feminist woman is nothing but for white women and shit like that. And I'm like, well, she didn't prove anything because that should have been a thing since the beginning. Feminism has never, ever, ever, ever benefited black women. I would like if you even ask how has feminism benefited black women, I'm pretty sure you couldn't find three benefits to black women when it comes to feminism. As a matter of fact, feminism was very instrumental in destroying the black family. Just look at Margaret Sanger and her philosophies and shit like that. But anyway, that's besides the point. Lana Del Rey, now obviously she's very successful. She's a very successful artist. And I feel like the reason why she lashed out the way she did is because a part of her is really not feeling the fact that people are slandering her when there's some Negroes that you need to slander. Or, when like you know how it is. They can dish the heat, but they can't take it. I feel like this is one of those cases. You
Right,
know what I'm
right.
saying?
right.
Lana Del Rey, like you've been making your kind of music, and people fuck with it. Obviously, a lot of people fuck with it. Obviously, you're very successful. But when the media says something about it, you take that shit to heart. Black artists don't really get to have that kind of reaction, because if they do, then they're ungrateful, they spoiled and shit. Doja Cat got slandered before. Nicki Minaj is in the news almost every fucking week, and Beyonce is Beyonce. So no matter what she do, she's gonna be forgiven for whatever. Beyonce can say the F word, and the gay community would love her even more. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, like I feel like Lana Del Rey just needs to charge it up to the game. Hey, they gonna talk shit about you, but you know what? It's like you said, Ray. You fuck with the people that fuck with you. But in this case, since Lana Del Rey is a white woman, she not used to having all that type of smoke, and she lashed out as a result.
I wanted to read that Instagram post, but that thing is too fucking long. And even then, like, I have to squint to like read that shit. I want to say this. I've been like, and even though this is about the women, first things first, you went after the four biggest female fan bases that actually not maybe top five. I don't know where Doja Cat fans. I know there's people that fuck with her heavy, but I don't know. It's like the Beehive. You don't fuck with the Beehive. You know, what is Megan Stallion fans? What they call them?
Hot girls, hot
Hot
boys.
girls. You got the hot girls. You going at the Beehive, hot girls, Barb's, and whatever the fucking fan base Doja Cat has. You really, really trying to get some attention. That's the first thing I realized. I said, damn, you're trying to fucking form like goddamn Power Rangers and shit. They'll all line up and try to drag you and shit. That's just, especially Beehive alone. Beehive is, you don't really, everybody knows you don't touch the Beehive. They're, them, they like everywhere. Like, even in the highest parts of the job, you get your shit fucked over, you get the Beehive. But usually I say this about hip hop, like, where to me this is nothing new because like if you're in the hip hop community, we a lot of OGs say this. It's like we don't like the mumble rappers. They don't really talk about nothing. Just like where the OGs was like where I come from. You talking about taking drugs, being a drug user, being a hoe, and all the other stuff. That shit was shamed upon. Now y'all do it with pride. This ain't nothing different from what hip hop is doing. So it's just like where where are you listening to? And like someone said, a lot of these women, even though they talk about songs about sex, they also got and this is not me not excluding. I don't know much of Doja Cat song. I heard her recent joint, but I can I was going to do a review on that, but that's on it. But I know the other three, they have songs where they're like they have talked about serious topics and they've talked about abuse and they've talked about um stuff that make you cry. Like they've gone through that too. Why are you just focusing on the pop radio hits? Because that's mostly what you're hearing, pop radio hits. And I'm not gonna lie, Lana Del Rey. I know you probably sell a lot. I do not know a single song that you have, but I'm pretty sure you have a song where it's just as poppy as Doja Cat "Say So" or Megan Thee Stallion "Savage" or who run the world girls is Beyonce. I'm pretty sure you got songs like that too. People gonna listen to what people gonna listen to. Like there's literal times where like I would want to listen to some conscious shit, and some girls are sitting there like, turn off that bullshit, and then they'll put on some ratchet ass shit. People just gonna listen to what they want to. So I don't think you. I'm not saying it's like you're jealous of them for because obviously you have a fan base and you sell a lot, but some people just sometimes, in the words of the black community, we ain't trying to hear that shit, Tariq. And sometimes I don't want to hear about how someone abused me. Maybe sometimes I want to hear about how much of a savage I am, or how much the pussy's on fleek, like as Nicki Minaj would say. I feel weird saying that, but it's just I'll say it once, and Father done said it, and I'll say it again. Just fuck with people that fuck with you. All right, you got your fan base. Just focus on your fan base and what they want to hear. But lashing out against probably like four of the top five fan bases in female artists. I don't think going after them is really good. And Azalea Banks, Lord Jesus, that girl. I think she was the first one to talk about the colorist thing, and then she called Ariana Grande black.
Oh my god.
She was like, "Oh, they put Ariana Grande on it." She was like, "Ariana Grande is black." And Lana Del, one thing I do realize that Lana Del Rey and Azalea Banks do not like each other. So I figured like Azalea Banks just had, I guess she had time today, and people saying she dragged her and all that shit. Let's see some of the comments. Here's one of the comments. She was like, "Women have been speaking on being imperfect relationships slash situations. Beyonce Lemonade album is this. Nicki's parent. You didn't open any doors." Cause she was like, she was one of the people that was talking about emotional abuse. I was like, bruh, you ever heard of Ella Fitzgerald? I was like, you ever heard of the blues? I was like, women been talking about their pain for years. Sade, god damn, these new artists, I swear to God. But she was like, you didn't open any doors. You simply joined the choir and convinced yourself you was the choir master. Typical. And then she said, Azalea Bay said, I hope none of you are surprised. At the end of the day, white feminists will be white feminists. And then it was just, then she goes, first it was Billie Eilish giving an unwanted critic on rap music that no one asked for. Now Lama claims she invented a whole new dimension of womanhood that has always existed. I'm sure another girl is about to lose her damn mind and say something to watch. For what it's worth, I can emphasize that she felt targeted for years and she felt the need to speak out, but she could have gone a lot better because this wasn't it at all. Like, this is one of the few times that I'm going to agree with kind of Azalea Banks. And but let the girls have, especially if this is four black women in the top two. Let them have the moment.
Exactly. Damn.
So any last words on this before we move on to our next
Yeah,
topic?
yeah, this just proves that black women cannot be stopped right now. I feel black people have been taking over the quarantine, bro. With quarantine radio with Tory Lanez, you got the Versus series that's bringing black people back into fucking rotation, heavy when it comes to streams and music and shit. You got people just releasing fucking fire ass content left and right. Shout out to shout out to my Lord and Savior Future, the King, the Messiah, Misogyny. I'm still bumping that album. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a meme, by the way. I just want to let y'all know that I love my black queens. But anyway, yeah, just black people have been killing it. Black women especially, and I love seeing Megan Thee Stallion, and on the top. I love seeing just black women in general on the top. So let's just keep the momentum going, and let's make these fucking pilgrims mad.
Exactly. This okay. So this next topic is kind of like off the boozy situation because, like we done said, there was people that was for it, there was people who was headed, and I said this is going to spark many conversations in the black community that we probably need to have a conversation for. Now, one of these conversations, what I was talking about is, and I wanted to bring this to father, the woman in this Facebook comment. I don't know if you've seen it a lot. It was like y'all, I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing when it was, but she was basically just like, we accept pedophilia more than we accept as black. I don't want to say black community, but I'm gonna look for it. But it was like, we accept pedophilia more than we accept homosexuality in the black community. Father, so I ask you, do you agree with that statement or not?
Accepting pedophilia more than homosexuality?
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with that, and I'm gonna explain why. Okay, so with pedophilia, because I feel like once black people confirm that you're a pedophile, you're fucking done. You know what I'm saying? Like you're actually done. And I've seen plenty of instances where people have gotten fucked up, for their pedophilia, or once it comes out that they actually touch someone's child, they're pretty much done. So I disagree with this notion that pedophilia is somehow more accepted than homosexuality in the black community. Because I know the same black community, while there is a lot of homophobic like narratives in the black community, just like with any community for that matter. If we're talking specifically about the black community, we've always knew people was gay. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there was plenty of people in the church choirs that was gay, and no one really said much about it. People always knew Luther Vandross was gay. People always knew Whitney Houston had a little thing for women, and they went on to still have very successful careers. Granted, the fact that they had to be in the closet to do so, but at the same time, they that didn't stop black people from loving their music, even though they knew like, oh, this that. They mostly really had to hide their sexualities because of like the industry in itself, and how because they are black, if they are black and homosexual in an industry such as that, they're getting blackballed immediately. So unfortunately, while there is still a lot of stigma against the black LGBT in the black community, at the very same time, to say that it is less accepted than pedophilia is just false, because you have to hide both. You know what I'm saying? Now where they I can understand where they're coming from, because for a very long time, predators have gotten away because, oh, the mama done defended them, or the family members done known about it but don't say shit because they feel like the little boy, the little girl's lying. You know what I'm saying? Just like when we brought up Boosie the other episode, it's more acceptable for a dude getting head, for a little boy getting head, than a little girl getting head at a very young age. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the culture that was perpetuated when we was growing up, especially back in the older days. You know what I'm saying? Niggas was getting their dick sucked at like age 13 or 14, and no one was batting an eye. But as soon as the little girl have some sex at the same age, everybody ready to fight the nigga that done took her virginity or whatever. So there is a very, very, very obvious double standard when it comes to that. But to say that pedophilia is more accepted than homosexuality, nah. At most, it's more hidden than homosexuality, because if niggas found out you actually touched a child, you're fucking done. The streets gonna get you before the cops do.
Exactly. I found a Facebook post. She said homosexuality disturbs y'all more than pedophilia, and I want to know why. And now, when I looked at that, and I understand like the black community, especially the gay LGBT black community, they go through their own shit. Just like black men go through their own shit, just like straight black women go through their own shit. We all have our shit that we go through. But to me, when I looked at this, I also said, huh? And then but my response was basically, look, I'm not even defending Boozy, but y'all seem to forget these two things used to be intertwined, and I'm not even talking biblically. And where I was coming from is like in history, it's just there was basically like maybe not in a black area, but history has always shown that people did not have a problem with pedophilia. For one, I brought up that like not a lot of people used to live past 40. Like that is an actual fact. There was not a lot of people that used to live around 40. So a lot of people, their wives was like 12 or 14-year olds. Pocahontas, the story Pocahontas, I know that she looked more like an adult in the Disney version, but in the actual version, she was like 12. And like grown white men was getting with her. And as far as the disco and the homosexuality, you can look back in the Roman eras. There was actually when they was like really into like uh gay sex and all that other stuff. That shit was actually like pretty common. They was fucking so much. There was actual relationships with grown men and little boys and all that other stuff. Matter of fact, Kevin Spacey was basically on trial because he assaulted a little someone that was the age of 15 or something like that, and he was on trial for that. He got off, but he was on trial for that. So it's still kind of relevant. um in the black community, you could tell, like I said, there was like some, I think Bishop Eddie Long was in before he died, his untimely death, he was in the news because they say he was touching on little boys. Like you could tell, and I'm not trying to bring up biblically, but these things do happen. So at one point, yes, it was intertwined. I don't know if you ever remember, I showed this in the Discord. There was like a 1950s video. It was like this man was a homosexual and he was preying on little boys. That's what the media back then was putting out. It was like a lot of these things used to be intertwined together because when you thought if somebody was gay, you thought they also lurked on little boys. There was a drag queen. It was like a 12-year-old drag queen, and he was going to adult shows and all that stuff, doing like new photo shoots with other drag queen men. And there was other drag queens speaking out about it because they said for the longest of times when they thought of like homosexuality, they thought of them preying on little boys. As once was in like it's been intertwined and they're trying to get rid of that, and it's so prevalent that even now, like, people that once relationship with young kids, like known pedophilians, they was once trying to put pedophilia into the LGBT community. They wanted to be another letter in the LGBT community. Now the LGBT community said, "Fuck out of here," but they wasn't. You could tell the pedophilia wasn't going after going through straight people. Like, oh, straight people need to have this type of relationship. No, because straight people, and like Father said, especially in the black community, we not accepting that shit. Let them find out you fucked a little girl, they gonna kill you. Like, oh, especially if you go to jail for like raping a little girl or raping a little boy, them niggas will straight up, they'll either kill you or they'll do some things that you really shouldn't be like, you shouldn't really know about. So to me, it's just like, and I'm not harping on the LGBT community, but at all, but like history has shown, like, I don't want to say Black America sometimes, but even though we have, like, I've had like gave examples, but some people just like, how can I put this? Like, it's kind of been accepted, and this now in this time of age where people are like living triple the life now, it's just not cool. Now it's never been cool to me, but history has shown like people was okay with it. Like, no one back then, I guess, gave a fuck that Elvis's wife was like 14. Now they do, but back then they didn't. Um, Shit, I heard about Paul Mooney. They was like the whole thing about Paul Mooney. He was like, they say he touched Richard Pryor's son or like one of his sons and all that other shit. And Richard Pryor didn't know about that. I don't know. So I don't know. You got any else to say about that, Father?
Um, I mean, you brought up some good points, but I was just gonna say that a lot of black people, like, they like to when you do actual research on homosexuality, yes, homosexuality was present in Africa and in ancient African times. However, it wasn't something that was like glorified, or wasn't something that was. It was just kind of there. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't really make a big trip out of it. We didn't kill them or nothing. They were just kind of there. Like, okay, he got some dudes over there, all right, whatever. Oh, okay, that woman and that woman are together. Some tribes, with their cultural traditions and stuff, did things that were akin to homosexuality, but you have also had to consider the context, because when I'm thinking homosexuality, I'm thinking of romantic and sexual, attraction. You feel me? But like, a lot of other people's definitions might not be the same way, or the context may differ when it comes to how we look at things in different cultural context. So yes, Africa did have homosexuality, but it wasn't like all over the place, or it wasn't like glorified. It was just there, you know.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you for bringing that information. I didn't know much about the African. I know you did, so like I let you have that one because but I know, like, as far as the Greek Romans and all that other stuff, yes, that shit was kind of like prevalent, and even some parts of Asia, like, there was prevalent. There was, matter of fact, like, men didn't really play a lot of women's role. Like, a lot of men played women's roles even back then. Like, a lot of women didn't really do a lot of acting back then. Now, like they do now, so that's basically everything about that. Any last words before we move on to our next topic?
Uh, Protect your kids, and if someone's gay, look the other way.
Okay, all right. This is probably the last topic. This isn't on it, but I did want to get your opinion on it. And let me just find it. Okay, all right, I found it. All right, there was this tweet, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it's basically, it was saying men have no inherent value. Women and children are valued simply for existing. This is why boyhood to manhood is especially rough transition for males because they are no longer loved simply for existing. Their worthiness must be proved or they are nothing and no one cares. Do you agree with that?
Damn, that was deep. That was hold on. Okay. So it's like I agree and I disagree at the same time. And let me tell you the part that I agree with. The fact that the boyhood to manhood thing, that's true. Because a lot of boys growing up into men, they have to learn things like, you know, being a provider and making sure that you have a good job so, you can take care of everybody around you and being a leader and shit like that. But at the same time, like and this is, and I'm guessing this is like the societal values coming into it, and gender roles and shit like that, because that shit, the amount of pressure that can put on a little boy, that could make him turn misogynistic, because he might look at this woman over there, you know what I'm saying, and I'm not gonna say they're skating by, because women catch a lot of fucking hell just by existing, but he might grow up with that entitlement that, oh, because you're a man you're supposed to pursue shit, you know what I'm saying, you a go-getter, you a hunter, if you want it you can get it, and you're supposed to get it because you're a man and you're the one that set the boundaries and you're the one that runs shit. So that could turn someone into a misogynist, and then that's when you get the dudes that kill women because they said no, or because they're not trying to give them a chance, or the dudes that feel entitled enough to relay their feelings onto a woman, and then when she don't feel the same, all of a sudden she's the bad one. It's little nuances and narratives like that, as to why that kind of shit goes on. But the one thing I disagree with was when they said that men have no inherent value. That is false, 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 false. One man can impregnate 100 women and rebuild an entire nation. So we are the seed. You know what I'm saying? We carry the seeds, and you need a seed for a tree to grow, or you need a seed for a plant to grow. So with that in itself, makes men makes men very valuable. You know what I'm saying? We literally freeze our sperm cells so lesbian women can get pregnant, or surrogates can get pregnant and shit like that. Like, if it were not for us, you feeling what I'm saying? A lot of these babies would have been getting made. The issue is that there is the and with this, I want to swing it back to the black community, and I want to talk to black men in particular because I'm a black man and I know my people. I want to say that inherently we are a divine people, inherently, right? Every time we mix with another race, it will always come out black. That's just the way God made us. We are the most dominant gene in the world. So with black men, us especially, we are like literal divinity manifested. Same thing with black women, literal divinity manifested. And the way that I've observed how things are supposed to go, there is a masculinity aspect to things, and there is a feminine aspect to things. Just and they preach, and if you notice, in a lot of different places around the world, they teach the same concept. In China, it was yin yang. You know what I'm saying? In Kemet, they had Isis, Horus, Osiris, shit like that. Like, there's always duality, day and night, good and evil, shit like that. Not saying that masculine and feminine are like good and evil, but they're supposed to complement each other. You feeling what I'm saying? You, how you
Right,
know
right.
someone is a very balanced person is when, so like, how in the little cartoons they have the devil and the angel, and one of them is both extremes of two sides. So the angel be like, "Don't do it. You're supposed to be good," and then the devil's like, "No, no, no. Don't listen to him. Listen to me. What you're supposed to do is combine the two ideals and make a intelligent decision, throwing away the shit you don't need and applying the things you do need, regardless of whether it be good or evil." Because, as you know, shit exists in a spectrum, and morality isn't always black and white. So with men and women, look. Some men going, they're gonna have some feminine traits to them. All right, cool, fine. As long as he doing what he's supposed to do, he not harming anybody. Fine, he can do whatever. And you got some women that embrace more of the masculine side. All right, cool, fine. You're always gonna have examples of that. But where the divinity comes in, and this is what I want to say to men, is that with the inherent divinity that we have, number one is to always uplift and empower feminine energy. Number two is to always keep God close, and to make sure that God is always a priority in your life. And number three is to become a sanctuary for those who you are protecting. Become a sanctuary for those who look up to you. If you happen to fall on that leader role, because obviously every man can't be a leader. Leaders are born. Leaders are born and made. They're not really leaders aren't born. They're made. Is basically what I'm saying. And then the last thing about being a very divine about divine masculinity is to teach the younger ones, the little brothers that are coming up, the younger generation that's coming up. We got to mold them and teach them. And that's one thing I love about the Nation of Islam. They teach their soldiers early. They indoctrinate their head with positive shit early, and they grow up, and then they become the men and women that you see today. Because I know the Nation of Islam, the men are very thorough and they follow a strict code, almost like it's militarized. But it has a strong foundation because it comes from a spiritual foundation. So they're able to encapsulate mind, body, and soul, teach it in a way where the younger generation can latch onto that. And then that's how you have the Rizza Islams of the world. And then when Louis Farrakhan was coming up, that's how he was able to take the mantle from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and shit like that. So as you can see, there's a hierarchy. And of course, Louis Farrakhan cultivated an entire generation of black men that are powerful and divine. So yes, there is a societal structure that is meant to really undermine masculinity and put it basically make they created a default type of masculinity where like you know what I mean, the average Joe type of shit. You're a man, you drink beer, you watch football, you know what I'm saying. All you want to do is have sex and have a good time, and you go to work, you come home, there's food on the table for you because you picked the right woman, you go to sleep, and then you do the shit all over again. You know what I mean? That's like that average Joe kind of default type of shit that they want you to believe in. But since I was raised in African culture, a man is only there to complement the woman, and he's the structure, he's the foundation. He makes sure that there's no threat to the family unit. You know what I'm saying? He's like the first line of defense. And then the women, she nurtures and encourages the man. She watches the children, and they both make ensure that the children that they make grow up balanced, and they take that balance, and then they're able to project their energies out into the world in a positive manner by keeping God close and things like that. So I mean, in conclusion, all we really got to do as men is just make sure that our morals, our principles, and our values come from a solid place, come from a place that don't oppress nobody, come from a place that don't judge nobody. All we really need to worry about is whether the family that we are assigned to, the family that we raise, the family that we cultivate is safe. We got to make sure that our younger brothers absorb good game and help out the people in their community as well. And then the number one thing that we really need to prioritize as men is to uplift feminine energy, is to empower feminine energy, is to become a sanctuary for feminine energy. And then that energy would is supposed to be reciprocated back onto you. So it's supposed to be like a cycle of just empowerment. And once you have that, then you can have the ancient chemists of the world, and like the Mansa Musa type wealth going on and shit like that. So
Well said. This is what my response was to that. Since the daughter men's jobs was to protect and provide, so majority of men accomplishments is what they pass down to the youth. we are now in a time where women not only work, but they could be in a position to not only nurture but provide as well, which some men, excuse me, feel like they are not needed. I do not blame women for any of this, but we mostly are looked at for what we can do. And if we can't, some of them don't feel like a man. There's a lot of men that, we was taught. We was taught to protect and to provide. Not only we've seen it in history, but even now we're like as young men, we are like trained to know. And I don't think this is a bad thing that, we have to have value in ourselves, because you tell your kids all the time, you're worth something, you are somebody, you are like, you could do anything you want. So as fathers, I feel like as fathers, you're supposed to your child, whatever your child is, because that's what not only you provide a house to live in, you provide them knowledge, you provide them wisdom. Not saying that women can't do this, but that is the man's that you provide them the honesty of the world and how the real world works. A lot of men do that. That's why I've always talked about fathers being in their lives. Now I'm saying that women can't do this, but men, I feel like when men have their sons, I feel like these are things that you need to teach your son. My father taught me these things. That's why, like, when I joined the Navy, because I wanted to like at least make a life for myself. He done raised me well. Let me just try to make a life for myself. Um, when I say inherit, sometimes, and I've seen this in a lot of white communities where sometimes they inherit the house that their father live in, or they inherit a car that their father used to have, and now he wants to pass it on to their son. These are things that men does, protect and provide. Like, you protect the household and you provide them things that maybe even you couldn't get as a youth. Now you want to give it to your son. That's what a lot of rich dads do. Like, you give them the life that they never had, so now they don't really, in a minute, I don't want to say they have to ask for anything, but um like everything they want they can get in the world's grasp. So I don't like a lot of I seen a lot of this, people find it like toxic masculinity, especially this one dude. He made a comment. He was like, the only one forcing men to prove their worth is other men in toxic masculinity. And the problem is, like, to me, that is completely false, because even women will tell you, like, if especially women that got their own, is like, and they don't date down, because you know about the whole dating down thing, right?
Yeah,
So basically, when they talk about dating down, it's like they're usually like looking, especially when they got a good job like a lawyer or a doctor. They always looking for someone like their caliber or higher. So they, even though they make enough money to provide for themselves, they still look for someone that's in their tax bracket or higher to protect and provide for them, because sometimes they don't want to spend their own money and all that stuff. They still want to be, even though they're in an equal opportunity, they still want to be looked at as women. So I believe that's hypergamy. So a lot of women believe in hypergamy. So even if they do make their own money, they still want men to do men shit. So that's why we always say everything isn't equal. But one thing I want men to understand, yeah, things are more equal, but they still want you to be men, and not just men, other women, and then you like everybody in the community, especially the way society is built. Now, back then in the '90s, like, or back then, you didn't even have to. You could drop out of high school and join the military. Now you need a high school diploma to like get a military. Back then in the '90s, if you had an associate's degree or some type of degree, you could have a good paying job, or at least learn a trade or something like that. Now, and father was just looking at this, especially like in the IT community. Most of the stuff you need a bachelor's or a master's, and not just that, like years of experience before they even give you an entry level job. So it's not just men, it's sometimes society and the way the capitalism works. Is like, you got to prove yourself to be worthy of doing something, and to be valued. And even with women, because like, even though like a lot of men, we don't care what type of money you make, we do, the value we bring on the women is, like, if I want to raise my children, are you the one to if I want to raise my kids with you, are you going to be a good mother to them? So that's where we look at as value for the women. Like, that's why we kind of ask things for, can we cook and clean? It's very old school mindset, but at the same time, it's also survival instincts. Like, cooking and clean is just like survival tactics. I know I always encourage men to like learn how to cook and all that other stuff that's good for you. But a lot of men don't cook, so a lot. I know a lot of women don't cook either. But to end this, I feel like yes, I don't have a problem with this because it's like everything has a value, even that like that's why, and you should have a high value of yourself. And I feel like that's why fathers are there to like to encourage you. I know a lot of fathers don't do this, or like there's some fathers that don't do this. I know we were just talking about the way Russell Wilson look at his stepson. He's giving him encouragement. He's giving him lightning. He's telling him how much you done changed his life. You're giving him value. You giving him good personalities, and that's what men. I feel like men should be doing with to protect and to provide. Even like with their significant other, you provide a stable household. You provide a companionship that she shouldn't find in another man, even if they make more money than them. Like you always got to put yourself in the highest value and look at yourself as the highest value, just so people can see what you're worth and if your worth is like high or not. So to me, it's like I guess I'm on the same line as father, but at the same time, it's just like even if you don't agree, you have to at least admit that you gotta like wherever you do, you gotta show your worth in something. You got any last words to say about that?
Yeah, man. You just gotta. At the end of the day, it's about what you contribute. Because the most useless men in the world can have all the money, but they don't contribute shit. And it really shows because you can have a lot of money, right? And but your contribution to your family or to society in general is very minimal. So that's why these motherfuckers are always depressed. That's why they're always buying shit impulsively that don't really make them happy, and there's always a void within their soul because they not basing their masculinity in something foundational. You know what I'm saying? So they never really had to get something to get. They didn't really give something to get something. It's always, oh, I'm gonna spend it on this, and contribute absolutely nothing. And then they wonder why their kids don't like their ass and their wife is filing for divorce. So, when you got shit like that going around, I mean, you can't really blame women that are like that because society told them that men are the ones that's supposed to hold you down and watch you, and all you got to do is just cook and clean and make sure that he's fed and he can go to work the next day, and if he needs sex, give him that too. So I don't really blame women that are rebelling against that because obviously that's some bullshit. If you want to go do something, then you should be able to do it without people telling you, "Oh, you shouldn't do this because you need to have a husband at home and shit." But one thing I noticed in general is that women have really stepped their shit up, and it don't matter whether you agree with the OnlyFans or whatever. Like at the end of the day, if they making money, you know what I'm saying? They making money. They can afford their own place. You know what I'm saying? They can pay their car note. But we got so many people that like to pocket watch because we live in a fucking capitalist system. We got so many people pocket watching that if you don't do it, quote unquote, the right way or the traditional way or the proper way, then you're gonna get thrown away. And you got whole people with degrees that can't even find work. You feeling what I'm saying? You know how many black men there are out there that got degrees that are very, that are educated, but yet they can't find work because of the intersection of patriarchy and racism? Like, bruh. And it just blows my mind that a lot of men that are really actually genuinely trying to make a way are getting looked over by the niggas who probably make music. And I'm not knocking people who make music, but there's this stigma that, oh, he needs to be a hustler, and he needs to get that fast money. He need that fast money so I can spend it. Like that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that it's so glorified, and you again, no disrespect to like any of the people I'm about to name, but you got your Megan Thee Stallions and your Cardi B's who encourage that type of that I'm all about the money. If you ain't got no money, you're useless to me type of shit. While there's someone who's actually grinding, working his ass off each and every day to try and make a way. All right, okay, that brother make $13 an hour, but at least he show up every day. He's not a bum. You know what I'm saying? He makes an effort to make sure that he budgets his money and he's doing things the proper way. If that's not what you want to look for, fine, go get you someone that got a little bit more money. Like hopefully they teach you like you actually got some value, and instead of something disposable like they do with their money. But hey, All I know is there are those who are genuine and there are those who are game goofy. And if you gonna lose, then you're gonna lose. There's no really like there's no really one size fits all solution to all of that shit. So hey,
And with that, I'm gonna leave it there. This has been a really good part. So with that, we're gonna go with our last final words. Father, you got any final words?
um, protect black women. Love our queens. Speak out on any bullshit that you see being perpetuated by black men, because we need to change this narrative, bro. I done spoke out about 2 3 video there were 2 3 videos that went viral on Twitter, and black men was really catching smoke because there was women getting slandered and getting you know physically assaulted, and nobody really did anything to help them. So we have to hold the L for that, and it's an L that we gotta hold. And of course, we don't like being generalized, and like I always say, black men are not a monolith. But at the same time, we need to do better in really speaking out for our queens and making sure that we got their back. Because as loud as the negative ones, though, us positive brothers that love black women and that want to cherish black women, we need to be even louder than them. So hashtag change the narrative.
Dang, I had, what's sad? I had another final thought, and then went into my timeline, and our favorite Trump supporter done said some stupid shit again.
Oh
This nigga,
Lord.
this nigga done said abortion has been worse for black people than slavery ever was.
What?
Exactly. I'll read it to you again. Abortion has been worse for black people than slavery ever was.
Ever was. That's the part that's getting me. Ever was. Lord Jesus.
Bro, I'm not gonna get into it on this, but let's just say I like it's like it's the there we have some lost. Let's just say we just have some lost people. Like this man done not since Jesse Lee Peterson. I've met another man that's defended White Zaddy so much, even in the wrong. Like he believes, like just the same guy that believes like them two white folks that killed Ahmaud Arbery was justified in what they was doing. And like even when you bring up evidence that counteracts his statement, he still doesn't believe it and all that other stuff. And he's a literal fire starter. So if there, I'm not going to lie to you, if there are people that we need to rid of, and I'm just saying this is going to be my final thought. If there are people that we need to get rid of on the community, it's people like him. All right,
Facts.
it's just like people like him. We probably need to start doing what the fucking Haitian revolution was doing and kill the people that we would think that will betray us or just not with us, because I feel like they're the ones that's holding us back. Not because they think different, but it's just you're just detrimental to the freedom, and like you just and not only that, you just like show your words and like you do all these hot topics and then don't want to back it up yourself. You get other people to fight your battles for you. I swear to God, if a person's real, he'd probably be the first one to go. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm not wishing death on people, but let's just say if there was a purge, I already know my victim. But
Hey man, Harriet Tubman killed her husband. Anybody can catch it.
exactly. If Harriet Tubman killed her, and the Haitian Revolution can kill their own, like you not safe either. I've always said, yo, sometimes I think we need to go from 12% of the population to 6. We'll probably feel better. Thanos, I don't know. Sometimes I look at Thanos like
You know what?
maybe
That's
he's
not a bad
right.
idea. That's not
Yeah,
a bad idea.
it's not a bad idea. Just sometimes I'm looking at Thanos saying, God damn, Thanos is right. But let me just end on that before it becomes another rant. I would like to thank our panel for joining in, and I would like to thank y'all for listening to hear us talk shit again. Remember, black women, we love you. Black community, We always down for the black community. We some black first niggas here. I like to thank y'all listening to hear us talk our shit again. Until then, this is you know what. Let me just say podcast, and we signing out. Peace.
Peace.